name is Andrew Hazen. I'm a United States Marine. I was an infantry rifleman attached to Victor 19 Alpha Company in operations in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom.
All right, nice meeting you, Andrew. My name is Hector Estevez. I'm going to be the one conducting the interview right now and asking you the questions. Can you start us off by just answering this question? Can you start off by explaining what was going through your mind entering the war?
The war or the area of operations?
Well, let's say the area of operations, yeah. Let's go
So, entering the area of operations, I'd had a lot of training leading up to it, obviously. I'd probably had about 2.5 years in the United States Marine Corps at that point. I'd been all over the world. I'd been to Africa, I'd been to Europe, I'd been to the Middle East already. Getting off the plane in Afghanistan was a little different. It's 135 degrees getting off the plane. Probably had 170 pounds worth of gear on my body. First thing they did was walk us half a mile to the berthing areas. So we had no prep time, no adjustment, just drop your gear, grab your weapon, take it to the range, get things sighted in. Then we went to the range, got sighted in, and then went back, started cleaning weapons. I guess my impressions were fucking hot. And I mean, that really was it. There was no presumption at that point. You're in the forward operating base. It's a fairly safe area. Nobody's really thinking about combat in that area. It's all administrative. Anxiety didn't really set in until we got to the combat outpost, because everything branches out, smaller, further. And we started our 5-paragraph order briefing, which is, our operational explanations, what our rules of engagement are, what our mission is in the area. They really hammered in certain facts about the operation. This is not a combat operation. We're a counterinsurgency operation. Lots of things to explain aspects of our mission statement that applied to certain legalities in the laws of land warfare as to how we were to engage and conduct ourselves, which is different than a state-to-state conflict, because we were dealing with irregular guerrilla forces. As you branch further and further into the area of operations, out to your actual operating area, the uncertainty and anxiety sets in, but then you get into the routine and then you're back to your normal angsty, bitter self.
Well, I'm not really much of a geographical person. I don't know much about the country. So could you explain to us what part of Afghanistan were you in?
I was in Helmand Province. Afghanistan actually has a pretty varied geography. There are areas of dense snow, high altitude, rocky mountains, wide open plains. We were in really an established kind of farming region. So while it was also very, very hot, it could also get very, very cold. It was always very, very humid no matter what. And then we had desert areas, flat, open desert areas, and all kind of mixed in. So you could have fields of marijuana or corn or wheat or whatever all around you, or you could have to cross big expanses of water or wide open desert. We did a lot of dismounted patrols in wide open desert. So Afghanistan is a hugely varied region with regard to geography and environment.
Oh, that's great. Well, could you explain to us how you adapted to your surroundings in this foreign land?
The Marine Corps' literal motto is adapt and overcome. Basically, you pick up this heavy shit, put it on your body, grab your weapon, walk that way until you're told to stop walking, put it down, lay on top of it, and wait to be told what else to do. Where we really shine is decentralized leadership in our NCO Corps. From junior Marines all the way on up the chain, we're really taught how to adjust to shifting circumstances mentally, physically, even strategically. I'm always one bullet away from the guy's job above me and above him. So you're always enabling yourself to be adaptable and malleable to anything that happens around you. So being in a foreign land, I mean, the term foreign land doesn't really mean much to a Marine because we're always somewhere different, you know, whether I'm training anywhere all over the US or whether I'm, you know, in a different state, in a different country. I could be in Spain living it up, or I could be in Djibouti literally tripping over rocks for no reason, you know, for something called phase 0 operations. And that's a little deep, I won't get into that, but you know, it's always a different day. They all suck, but they're all different.
What was your mission going into Afghanistan?
We were part of a counterinsurgency open. Obviously, I was in during the hearts and minds, you know, kind of area, and our joke was always, you know, 2 to the heart, 1 to the mind. Yes, counterinsurgency. They were very, very adamant that we were not in a combat mission, really, a lot of times we felt like we were spinning wheels, especially the longer you spend in Afghanistan, the more you realize calling Afghanistan a country is kind of disingenuous. It's kind of like a loosely organized bunch of provinces where tribes really run everything, and nobody in Kandahar cares about what's happening in Marja. You know, nobody in Jalalabad gives a rat's ass what's happening in Kabul. They're not linked together. It's not the US, you know, the things that happen in California don't affect, you know, people down in Boca Raton per se, but they do on a national scale, on a presidential, you know, that there's legal workings and social media, and you have the highway system and the railways and the established economy. It's not like that in Afghanistan. It's very, very much like going 1,000 years in the past, really. If that's even possible to imagine, you really have to see it and experience it for yourself. And they all have cell phones.
How did you contribute to the historic event known as the Afghanistan War?
So Operation Enduring Freedom, we replaced, I think we were 1 unit removed after what's called Operation Mashrak. Marja was a very strong Taliban stronghold prior to us going there. 1-6, I believe, was the push through Operation Mashrak, where they had to basically clear the entire city. They did it at great cost. And then 2-6 came in, replaced them. And word is they didn't really listen to a word 1-6 told them on how to operate in the area, and they took great losses. Were replaced early, basically before their deployment was up, and then we came in behind. I want to say it was 1-3, might have been 2-3, we were actually detached from our unit. The rest of our unit went to an area called Trek Nawa, which was nearby, and we were attached out as a company to run our section of Marja, which was in the northwest section, below an area south of Kez. Is what they called it. It's a really long Arabic name, so we just called it Kez. Basically my contribution was just being an infantry rifleman. I mean, we got in firefights and we dealt with all the same things any infantry Marines would be dealing with out there. A lot of the same BS, not a lot of good going on out there.
Like, if there's any worst part of the experience?
Oh, there's a loaded question. Probably sitting on top of Corporal Garvey. I mean, literally laying on top of the guy to keep him from grabbing at his intestines as Doc is working on him because he is so freaked out. And literally laying on top of the guy and halfway to hold him down, but we've got his flak put across him. And because there's no cover. I mean, they hit us. We had flat ground, a valley, which they would have had, downward advantage on us. And I mean, no cover. I mean, no micro terrain, no nothing. He was my cover.
Yeah.
And that was probably the lowest moment by far.
Wow. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
Well, how did this experience impact your life overall?
Well, it gives perspective on everything, which is it can always get worse.
Well, this is our last question of the night. How are you keeping up now ever since this event?
Lots of boredom, plenty of health issues. I actually feel pretty lucky as far as, you know, the way things could have gone. I kept myself pretty lightweight with regard to burdens, obligations, and things like that. So even as my health declined, I was able to stay solvent financially, keep working, keep going to school. You know, I've been taken very well care of by the VA. They paid for 3 brain surgeries. They pay for probably $2,000 worth of meds every month. You know, I'm working towards a different school now. Going to IT. I was doing paramedics. I feel, all things considered, I'm probably doing pretty well, especially compared to a lot of people. I've always had a roof over my head. I've always had, you know, meals before me. Even the low points have just been kind of flat points, not necessarily, you know, so.
Well, all right. That's all we have for today. Thank you very much for the interview, and thank you for your service. All right.